What's up guys, this is Chris from Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to hit you with a very requested video. We are going to be doing another top 5 on budget guns. In 2022, prices have changed quite a bit via the last few years. I had a list, top 5 budget handguns, probably about 3 years or so ago, but since then we've reviewed an awful lot of guns, a lot of new firearms to assess and evaluate compared to the ones that I had on the previous list. I looked at the previous list and I'm like, man, that's not the top 5 guns I would choose today. So I think it's about time to make a new one. Now before we get into the video, I do want to mention my patrons supporters. I appreciate you guys. Most of the guns and ammunition ran on the channel were provided by my patron supporters. If you like the content we put up here, that is the best way to support us. So all you gotta do is go to the link in the description and sign up. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. I'd really appreciate if you guys would go down and click that link and donate a couple bucks to those kids. They could really use your help. And finally, if you scroll down far enough, you'll find some links to Teespring. We have a new design out, so if you guys are interested in that, by all means go down there, throw some love to the wife, and buy one of those shirts. So that being said, let's get into the budget pistols here. I'm going to give you the criteria for the list quick before we get started. First off, it's basically just the best pistols under 500, but most of them are around 300 to 400. There is one I squeaked in at about 500. Most of them are $300 to $400. The reason for that is because that's pretty much the lowest price tier you can go with handguns and still make them reliable, accurate, fully functional, have good customer service, have good accessories, that kind of thing. We're going to talk about a few honorable mentions that came close, but for one reason or another didn't quite make it on the list. With that being said, let's get right into it. Number 5 here with the M&P Shield 2.0. This is actually the Shield Plus here, which is the higher capacity version, but they're basically the same. Is a 3.1 inch striker fired 9mm pistol that is around 17 to 18 ounces and is the gold standard of carry pistols over the last decade or so. Very, very popular, very accessible, shoot the 9mm round, stupid, reliable, very compact and easy to carry, however just big enough to shoot very well as well. Was really the fire starter of the concealed carry subcompact single stack world. Nowadays, in the era of the double stacks of the last few years, the price on this particular gun has gone down so much that you can find them somewhere between $200 and $300 often, and that is a hell of a gun for $200 to $300. I know a lot of people that are hung up on capacity are not going to like the standard capacity of around 7 to 10 rounds, depending on what magazine you use. However, in my personal opinion, that's more than enough for concealed carry for almost every circumstance I can think of. And if I had an M&P Shield on me, I would not feel unarmed. I can say that for a fact because I did carry one for a long time, and I do currently carry the Shield Plus, which is again essentially the same gun with just 3 to 4 more rounds of capacity. Now for a couple hundred extra bucks, you can upgrade to the 12 to 15 round magazine capacity of the M&P Shield Plus. However, that is not the case on this particular list because the Shield, as I said, again comes in somewhere between $200 and $400 depending on where you get it, what accessories come with it, and that kind of thing. And I think that is a very, very good budget gun for the money. Not only does it fit the narrative of the price, for sure, but it's unbelievably reliable, unbelievably accurate for its size, shoots very well, and again, is available everywhere. So I had to put the Shield on the list. How could you not? In at number 4, we're going to have a little bit more controversial pick. This is going to be the almost $500 guy. I wanted to get a 1911 on the list. Why? Because I am such a sucker for a 1911, and out of all the guns this year, this is one of the most impressive that I had, so I wanted to fit this guy on the list. This is the Girsan MC 1911C. Now, before all you naysayers say that a 1911 should not be on this list, it's an old design, yada, 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 I promise you the 1911 has the credentials to match. For all of you guys who are striker-fired little babies that say the 1911 still can't get the job done, trust me, this old bitch has done it before, it'll do it again, and 100 years later, it's still laying pipe. They make full-size versions of this, but the C in particular is the one that really impressed me. Not only does this gun come in at $500, and for a 1911, that's usually a big red flag that says do not buy. However, this gun is, at least that I'm aware of, is pretty excellent. Not only do I have one that's worked very well, we have hundreds and hundreds of rounds from now. We're almost towards the 1,000 round review. One of my buddies owns a gun shop that sells these all the time, Mr. Guns, and he has no problems with them, fully recommends them. Plus, I know 3 or 4 other people that now own one of these, and they all think that they're very excellent. It's a pretty good track record for a new gun, so I'm pretty impressed. Other than the reliability, the accuracy is phenomenal. Comes with a 3-pound trigger right out of the box. Now, if you're unfamiliar with 1911s, they are single action only, so they are carried cocked and locked, sweep the safety off, and defeat the trigger. there you go. Comes with a capacity of between 8 and 10 rounds, depending on what type of magazines you get. Come in 9mm, 45, or even 10mm, which is very cool. Front slide serrations, full Picatinny rail, so you can put a light under it. You could compete with this. You could theoretically carry this since it's only 36 ounces, and you could also defend your life or your home very nice with this gun as well. 1911s have been doing work for a long time. They're probably the fastest and most accurate platform to shoot. They are a little bit of an expert's gun because they're a different battery of arms than most people today are familiar with, but they are still an excellent firearm, and this is my favorite and my preferred choice. Not just because Girsan makes a great budget 1911, but because that 4.4-inch slide that this C comes with here is the ideal slide length and weight for a 9mm. This gun not only recoils less than any other 9mm 1911 that I've shot, but also tracks a little faster, and for $500, that's very, very impressive, and I definitely recommend this guy. Now, coming at number 3, we have a gun that's not on the table, but I did own it 2 years ago, and I'm still a big fan of it. That is going to be the IWI Masada. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the IWI Masada, they're the same company that makes the Tavor and the Galil. They're pretty well known for making very bomb-proof military firearms, and the Masada is no exception. It was their entry into the budget striker-fired game, and I think they did a really good job. The Masada is a striker-fired polymer frame pistol with usually a 4-inch barrel. It comes optics ready, and it is a full-capacity, full-size 9mm. The gun comes with 2 mags, 17 rounds apiece. It has back straps, so you can actually change the grip if you choose. The gun is optics ready, which is very impressive. It also comes with front serrations, a Picatinny rail, a pretty good trigger, and ambi controls, all for coming in at around the $300 to $400 price point, which is absolutely incredible. If you consider the gun is kind of on par in stats and performance with your average Glock 19, the IWI Masada is quite the deal at the prices you can find it for. Now, the downside to the IWI Masada, and the only one that I'm familiar with, is that they're not very available. So you're going to have some issues finding magazine pouches and holsters and maybe spare magazines, but they're all available online, especially if you look in the right spot. And the gun's so damn good, I think it's more than worth a search. Now we're going to slide into number 2 here, and the fight between 1 and 2 was pretty close, but it really came down to what I wanted to carry. Like if I was in a horror movie or something, which one would I take? So that one went to number 1, but number 2 ain't bad. That is going to be the Beretta APX. Now, the Beretta APX comes in a compact, a subcompact, a full size, any version that you want. You have to remember that the gun also comes with a fire control module like a SIG P320, so you can change the grips and form factor of the gun however you choose, which is very important if you're in a state that you can only own a certain amount of firearms, so it takes a very long time to purchase a firearm. So you could buy just the fire control module and have like 3 different grips and have a subcompact, a full-size handgun, a compact. You can have a whole bunch of guns for just one gun. Now, the one I had was the compact, the Glock 19 size, and that one had a 3.7-inch barrel, and it came in at an overall weight of around 27 ounces with 2 15-round magazines. It again has a chassis system. It also has 3 back straps and a pretty decent trigger. Now, the real claim to fame for the Beretta APX, in my personal opinion, is not only does it come from a reputable company, one of the oldest, if not the oldest firearms manufacturer in the world, the same manufacturer that came out with awesome guns like the PX4 Storm, the 92, a whole bunch of legendary handguns, but it comes in at around $300 depending on where you get it at. I've seen this for sale right now in my area for $300 to $400 multiple times over the past month. And I just don't know why nobody goes after the Beretta APX. I hear so many people say they can't afford a handgun. Well, maybe you can't afford a Glock, or maybe you can't afford a Wilson Combat, but a Beretta APX will definitely get the job done. I mean, you're talking about a gun that's super reliable, has a great track record, has pretty good ergonomics, and if not, it's the backstrap system. It can come optics ready or not. And on top of that, it comes with that customer service of Beretta, which a lot of budget guns do not, especially at the $300 price point. You have to remember that's $200 lower than this 1911 is. So the APX definitely should be on this list, and it was damn close to being number 1. Now, before we do get to number 1, we are going to throw in a few honorable mentions. Now, the one that's got to get out of the way the soonest is definitely going to be the Taurus G3C. That one almost made it on the list, and I have owned 4 versions of that gun, along with 2 versions of the G2C and 1 version of the G3. I had a G3 Toro, and I've had a few Taurus 22s, so I've had a lot of versions of this particular model of gun. However, I loved it, but I did have 1 version of the G3 or the G3C that didn't work right out of the box. That is unforgivable for me personally. No matter how bad your customer service is, you probably should at least check to see if the slide functioned back and forth before you sent the damn gun out. That being said, they are great guns if you do get a good one. One thing you have to remember with Taurus and a lot of other budget companies is just because somebody gets one that's bad doesn't mean that you will, but it is a higher percentage that you will. So let's say Glock or M&P puts out a gun that sucks every 1 out of 1,000. Let's say Taurus does it 1 out of every 100. So you have to keep in mind there is a little bit of a curve there when it comes to getting a quality gun. There's lots of quality Taurus G3Cs out there, but every once in a while there isn't. And the guns that I chose that are on this list, I chose them because I haven't heard of anybody that's had a problem with them. Another one that's going to be on this list that probably should have been towards the top is going to be the M&P series, the M&P 2.0. I just didn't want to put it on there with the Shield, but I promise you, if you walk in your local gun store and you pick up an M&P and it's under $300 or $400 and you want to pick it up, it's definitely worth it. Military service track record, law enforcement service track record out this window, and all sorts of civilians have been very happy with the M&P series. Another one that's going to be a really good to go gun is going to be the Girsan MC P35. Long name. It basically is a Browning high power clone that Girsan makes for between the $400 and $500 mark. It's very excellent. I just also didn't want to put it on this list because there's a Girsan on this list, so keep that in mind. And then finally, we're going to have the Tanfoglio series of guns, the Tanfoglio EA Witness. They're basically budget CZs, and they're pretty awesome as well. Finally, any used gun that's from a reputable company is going to be an amazing choice. People always ask me about used guns. They're not electronics, guys. They're like cars. If they're taken care of well, they're going to run forever. If you find a Glock in a case that has 5,000 rounds through it, it's still going to run for another 45,000 rounds before it breaks down. So if you see a used Glock Gen 3 or a used M&P Gen 1 or something like that, remember those are super good to go. So by all means, pick those up. That being said, let's get into number 1 here with probably my favorite budget gun ever. And I wouldn't have guessed this myself, but it is a gun that I put into service multiple times. What I mean by that's a gun I've carried multiple times, even though I have tons of other guns at my disposal. And that gun is going to be the Canik TP9 SC Elite. I got this gun a few years ago, and it's been on a couple of my budget guns lists, but it just keeps popping back up because no matter how many more guns come out, I would just always prefer to have this one. Like, out of all the other guns I listed, if there was serious business to be done, I would probably want to have one of these. And the one knock on Canik I can think of is they're not made in the US. Everything else is absolutely amazing. You're talking about a gun that comes out between $300 and $450 depending on where you get it. And I'm about to list the features. It's going to sound like a damn infomercial. It's got night sights on it. It's got an optics mounting system. It's got a full pick rail. It's got one of the best triggers you've ever felt in your life. It's based on the Walther P99 series, which is a pre-cocked striker, and the triggers are absolutely phenomenal. Much better than any custom Glock trigger you'll ever get. And I promise you, I've tried them all. I have all the Glock triggers. Do I not? Every Glock trigger that's ever been made. I even have custom triggers made for me by gunsmiths. None of them are as good as this trigger is, and you can get this for 400 bucks. It's got an extended magazine release, awesome ergonomics. It's got a backstrap system on it that I like a lot. And on top of that, you got 12+1 and then 14+1 if you so choose in this subcompact, which only has a 3-inch barrel, and the damn thing only weighs 22 ounces. Lightweight, extremely accurate. I can't stress that enough. Because of the trigger and sights or the trigger and optic combination, you can get some extreme accuracy with this little pistol. I have no problem hitting with this gun out to 100 yards and even beyond. Very light recoil as well, especially by comparison to the APX. That's one downside of the APX that separates this from that. Not only is the trigger in this significantly better, but it's also much faster due to that trigger's reset. And I'll run through that here real quick here. You can see the trigger is very light, and it's very crisp, and the reset is very fast, allowing you to shoot faster and more accurate than previous guns of its class. Not only that, but it also has ambi controls and front slide serration. So if you want to do the press checks, you can do that. If you're running an optic back here and it gets a little jumbled back here, you can always run forward, and it has the slide release on either side. My wife's left-handed, so ambi controls in our house are very important. And then you can also swap the magazine release over. It's got good texture, but that would be the only thing I would knock this gun. Is honestly, I haven't put anything on it, which is really saying something, but in the future I probably will stipple the gun. That being said, I still believe the Canik TP9 SC is the king of the budget guns, just because of its size. The SC, the subcompact version of this gun, actually is somewhere in between a Glock 26 and a Glock 19. It's kind of like M&P compact size, which I believe is the perfect size for a do-it-all gun, because even a Glock 19 can be a little big if you carry it all day. I used to carry one all the time. And this gun gets a similar capacity with better accuracy and faster follow-up shots. I'm taking this all day. Let me know what your list of the best budget pistols are. I love budget guns. I love finding hidden gems. So if you have any that I haven't reviewed on the channel, by all means, throw that shit in the comment section below. If you like this video, you like the content, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.
Got a lot of birds hanging out nearby.
Get!
Go on, get birds!
Get birds!
Now Oliver's barking too. You want to lay some pipe? That's a thing people say.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I don't even know what I just said.
Laying pipe?
Yeah.
It's like dropping the D in you, you know?
Oh, then
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that?
Maybe.
That's my job. I feel like maybe we're done with this. We'll go inside and I'll show you what it means. What do you think?
Okay.